finish our payroll register that we got started in our Google Sheets. We've calculated so far our earnings, and now we're going to be working on those dreaded deductions. That's the amount of money that will be withheld from our pay that will reduce how much money is our paycheck and eventually will give us our net pay. So the first two categories fall under FICA, and under the Intro to Business classroom, you'll see a link to a website that talks more about what FICA is. And if you open that up, there's even a video that you can watch that describes it. But we see in this paragraph that the Social Security tax rate is 6.2% and the Medicare tax rate is 1.5%. This is required by the federal government for all employees in the United States to be withheld. And we learned about in the tax unit how that is part of the entitlement programs of the federal government. So to calculate that, we simply come into our cell under Social Security for our first employee, which is for me, H5, press equals to make a calculation, select our gross pay by either clicking on or typing in G5, and then times, and then 6% is 0.062. Press enter, and we'll try that again. Equals times 0.062. Equals gross pay times 0.062. Once that's been calculated, click back on the box, go to the square in the corner, and simply click and drag to copy that down. Let's do Medicare now the same way. Click in cell I5 and press equals. Select your gross pay. Put in times, and this time we'll use 1.45%. And we'll come in here and click on that box again to fill it down. The next area that we're going to add is the federal income tax. Now in Illinois, we have both a state income tax and federal income tax. So I would like to add a column for state income tax as well. So with my cell pointer over here in K, I'm going to right click and say insert column to give me a new column, and I will need to go ahead and select those and merge those together. And in here, I'm going to do state income tax, and we will include both of those. Make that cell a little bit wider. All right, let's go to federal income tax. Now, federal income tax is a little bit complicated. It's not a straight amount. We know that the tax is graduated, and we're going to look over at this column for withholding. If we go back to Intro to Business, I put a link to the IRS's website that has the 2018 withholding tables. If you go and open those up, what you're going to find is this long document that describes the process. But really what you want to look at is to scroll way down until you get to what are called the withholding tables. Now, most employers use a piece of software to do this automatically, but we're going to do it by hand so that you can kind of understand how that process works. Let me see if I can scroll a little bit faster here. Maybe not. I'm recording this on a Chromebook today, and it's a little bit different than the computer that I'm used to. The federal government is thorough, not always concise. So here's what the tables look like. And at the top, we want to look at whether you're single or married and what type of payroll. We're doing a weekly payroll, so that shows up first, so that's perfect. We need to come over here and find our gross income and then go over to the withholding. So my first employee is married with withholding of 2. So in order for me to make this work, I need to find the married table. So I have married doing a weekly income, and I want to go over to the 2, but I need to find out my income. So in here, my gross pay is just over $400. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find that there's the column, at least $395, but less than $405. And this person's married and they have 2 deductions they're claiming. And so it's going to be $2 that I will put into my payroll register. So I will type that in. And that's how that works. I'm not going to do all the employees. You can go back and look them up. Just make sure that for your single employees, you're looking on the single table. So state tax in Illinois actually just changed. So we can actually Google that and say, what is Illinois income tax rate 2018? And it's going to come right up in Google and say that, well, tax was just increased from 3.75 to 4.95%. We're going to use 4.9% to make that calculation. Very similar to what we did with FICA. We will come here and press equals. Make sure we're using our gross pay and multiply that times 0.0495. Is that right? Yep. And we can fill that down. The last column here is health insurance, and that would be variable for each person. You can do what you want there. You can type in numbers as needed. Well, on a weekly rate, 50 would be maybe a little bit high, but you could maybe put in 20 here, and you could put in 0 for some if they opt not to have it or if they have their own. And then our final category here is total deductions, where we're going to add all these up. So I'm going to use a function for that. I'll press equals and type in SUM and then the left parenthesis. And then I can simply highlight all of my deductions. Press enter. Let's try that again. I think it slipped on me. Let's try that again. Equals sum, left parenthesis, highlight and press enter. There we go. And you can, of course, fill that down. And finally, net pay. Well, net pay is how much we get out of our paycheck in what's left after the deductions. So we're going to press equals for our calculations, go to gross pay, subtract from our gross pay our total deductions. And again, that can be filled down. And we can make all of these that are currency. Can highlight those and set those to be formatted as a currency. And we could set down the decimal places to be 0 if we want. Let's make sure that that's filled down. Then finally at the bottom we have a total. And we can come in here to the total and use that same sum function here by pressing equals sum, left parenthesis, and highlighting our column. And then simply fill that over. And we'll get a total for each column. It doesn't probably make any sense to total the wage column, so I'm going to remove that. So good luck, use your resources, and hope that you can get this finished today in class, and we'll move on to filing our withholding tomorrow.